You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Feel like who art Ed?
Try to slice it.
Who art is Mr. Wood, art Ed me?
Good. Either way, it's ambiguous. It works on so many levels.
I know.
That's off to a great start.
Welcome to Who Arted Weekly Art History for All Ages. I'm your host, Kyle Wood. Now, today I have a short bonus episode for everyone who's been following my annual Arts Madness tournament. We started with 64 diverse artists, and every week, half were eliminated based on your votes. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's participated. I hope you enjoyed the tournament, maybe discovered some cool artists you didn't know about before, or just enjoyed looking at art in a new way as you tried to compare these random matches. I mean, how does one even compare a woodblock print of a tsunami wave up against a banana duct taped to a wall? Thankfully, I don't have to grapple with this because you all voted. The totals are in, and I'm going to announce the winner in a minute. But first, I thought it'd be nice to share some fun facts about the two artists who made it all the way to the finals. So here are 5 fun facts about Katsushika Hokusai. First off, he was a master of not only woodblock prints, but also name changes. Hokusai used over 30 different art names throughout his long career. Changing names often marked a shift in his artistic style or a new phase in his life. One of his names actually just translated to Old Man Mad About Art. Next up, 36 views of Mount Fuji is a little bit of a misnomer. It's his most famous series, 36 Views of Mount Fuji, which includes the iconic Great Wave off Kanagawa, but it actually contains 46 prints. That's because the series was so popular, he added 10 extra designs to the initial 36 that were published. Now, moving away from his work, according to sources, Hokusai really disliked cleaning. Hokusai reportedly moved house an astonishing 93 times during his life. A legend has it that he wouldn't clean his studio. Once it became unbearably messy, he would simply pack up and find a new place to live and work. Next up, apparently Hokusai considered himself to be a bit of a late bloomer. While he was successful early in his career, and he did have some setbacks, which I talked about in my previous Hokusai episodes, he felt his best work came later in life. He famously said around age 75 that he had only begun to understand the structure of nature, and that by age 90, he would penetrate its secrets. He hoped to live to 110, believing that by then, quote, every dot and every line would possess a life of its own, end quote. And my final fun fact about Hokusai: while his prints are treasured in museum collections around the world today, and they were particularly influential in Europe, spreading among impressionists like Monet, Degas, and Van Gogh, they weren't always cherished as prized masterpieces. In fact, some of his prints first arrived in Europe as cheap wrapping paper used to protect imported porcelain. Now, a few fun facts about the contemporary prankster artist, Maurizio Cattelan. First off, how can I not talk about comedian? In 2019, he grabbed headlines around the world as the banana duct taped to the wall at Art Basel Miami sold for $120,000. Adding to the absurdity, during the exhibition, a performance artist, David DeTuna, famously peeled the banana off the wall and ate it, calling his act Hungry Artist. Interestingly, while a 6-figure price tag seemed outrageous in 2019, it would appear to have been a great investment because recently, a copy of Comedian auctioned for just over $6 million. Next up, while Cattelan's work is accepted in museums and galleries around the world, he was a bit of an outsider to the art world with no formal training. He became a self-taught artist after working various jobs, including as a furniture designer. He actually calls himself an art worker. And his lack of traditional training perhaps fuels his unconventional and often irreverent approach to the art world. Which leads into my next fun fact. He's said to be a little bit press shy, avoiding direct interviews or explanation of his work, preferring to let a piece speak for itself. He has sometimes even sent friends or collaborators to impersonate him at events or interviews, adding another layer to his playful and elusive persona. Next fun fact, a lot of his most famous work was created after he retired. Following a major retrospective at the Guggenheim Museum in 2011, where he suspended nearly all his previous works from the ceiling of the rotunda, Cattelan announced his retirement from art. Of course, this retirement proved temporary, and he returned to making art a few years later, leading many to see the retirement itself as a conceptual gesture. And finally, I gotta talk about the golden toilet. He created a piece he called America in 2016, a fully functional, solid 18-karat gold toilet. It was installed for visitor use at the Guggenheim Museum in New York and later at the Blenheim Palace in the UK. In 2019, while on display at the palace, it was dramatically stolen in an overnight heist and has yet to be recovered. Now, for the moment you've all been waiting for. In our final round matchup between Hokusai and Cattelan, the winner you all chose was Katsushika Hokusai. In this year's tournament, I have seen some shockingly close rounds, with a margin as close as a single vote. But for the final, it was actually a bit of a blowout. Hokusai took 66.2% of the votes, nearly doubling the number that voted for Cattelan. In the final round, I always like to leave space for voters to share why they picked the one that they did. And I think this voter stated it so nicely, I'll give them the final word for the episode. They said, quote, "When comparing the two pieces, it doesn't take much to see which has more effort put into it. While Cattelan's work may invoke conflict and be an example of what modern art has come to, it can't truly stand next to a piece with raw artistic value like The Great Wave. Hokusai's piece has some historic value as well, while the comedian relies off its audience to give it value. The Great Wave off Kanagawa can stand by itself and still have a message. The deep blue is also very encapsulating, and the curves of the rocky waters draw your eye to the towering monstrosity of the Great Wave. One can also ponder the feelings of those in the boats below, fighting through the seas to survive. In conclusion, I just can't say I draw the same depth out of the banana, although the risk of purely relying on those who see it to give it meaning is commendable." End quote. This concludes this week's episode of Who Arted, part of the Airwave Media Podcast Network. If you found this tolerable, please leave a rating or review on your favorite podcast app. You can find images of the work being discussed this week and every week on social media at Who Arted Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and of course on the website whoartedpodcast.com. Podcast done.